Horse trading till the very last minute has characterized the election of the ANC's top seven. We expect results later today. Outgoing Treasurer General Paul Mashatile has issued an advisory to provincial secretaries, IPC coordinators and conference delegates to be seated by 9 a.m. for the resumption of plenary. Let's speak to political analyst now, Lukhona Vangqa. Lukhona, good morning and thank you very much for your time. I suppose as analysts it's becoming difficult to predict the outcome with these shifting sands of the conference. Now, as a start, what did you make of Pule's address stating that he would now be voting for Zweli Mkhize?
It was not unexpected. Thank you for inviting me, Fundo. It was not unexpected. Pule Mabe has always belonged to more of the RET faction of the ANC. You look at the provincial conference that happened in Gauteng, he was aligned to those people that were supporting Lukhona Vangqa that side. So it's not surprising that he's thrown his weight behind Zweli Mkhize. I think, Fundo, what characterized yesterday was a day of sacrifice. It was a question of who's willing to be sacrificed and who's willing to sacrifice. And that's the question that confronted the Limpopo delegation when their chairperson, Stan Mathabata, was no longer being accommodated by the CR22 slate. The question then was, are you willing to sacrifice the chairperson in support of the president? And I think we saw that Limpopo decided that they are not willing to do so, and they got onto the N3 and went to KZN to throw their lot behind Zweli Mkhize. And I think Gauteng is confronted with the same question. Are you willing to sacrifice Paul Mashatile in support of the president when Paul Mashatile is no longer accommodated in the CR22 slate? And it seems like Gauteng has also made a similar decision to get onto the N3 and throw their lot behind Zweli Mkhize and KZN.
But with both provinces, there seem to be divisions because I know Kgosi Mayepa was speaking insofar as Gauteng is concerned. Now, he speaks for Tshwane, that region. Now, he was saying that delegates from there would be disciplined, it's ill-disciplined, in fact, to be going against the mandate of the branches. So clearly that indicates some sort of a division, that even if you would have perhaps a majority of Gauteng deciding to support Zweli Mkhize, there would be those few that still say we will continue with the mandate given to us by the branches. And
all those divisions will continue along the lines that we've become accustomed to, Fundo. Remember, Gauteng was not a united front even coming to the nominations and coming now. So the divisions will not only start on the conference floor, they've always been there. And what we realize is that they continue along the same lines. Tshwane going to the provincial conference of Gauteng, we knew what side they were going for, and they were pro-CR side as well. So those divisions exist in Gauteng, they exist in Limpopo, as you saw some of the resistance from those delegates in Limpopo to the decision of Stan Mathabata and the PEC to go to throw their lot behind KZN. But you'll see the similar divisions within KZN, with Jomo Sibiya throwing his lot behind Cyril Ramaphosa. So those divisions exist. But what becomes monumental is the shift with the leadership. If the leadership is able to shift their allegiances, some or a significant portion of delegates usually follow their leader, because what that means, what that translates to, Vundo, is it also affects the internal succession planning of the particular province. For an example, Limpopo has its own succession plans for when Stan Mathabata ascends to national politics. And if Stan Mathabata is no longer being accommodated, then it affects their succession plans, and they're not willing to sacrifice those long-term plans for CR22 slate that is not accommodating them. And something similar as well can be seen in Gauteng.
So meaning those premature pronouncements that PECs made were actually conditional. They were just setting the stage and saying, here we are, if you're willing to accommodate us as the CR camp, then perhaps we can continue.
Yes, it's all contingent, and it's always been. I don't know why they believed the CR slate that the support comes with no strings attached. In the patronage networks of the ANC and the factionalized nature of the organization, it doesn't make sense that they would believe that there are no strings attached. So that support is contingent on them coming with a particular perspective or supporting a particular view that they have. And for Gauteng, that view is Paul Mashatile. For Limpopo, that view is Stan Mathabata to become national chairperson of the ANC. If they are not accommodated on that, the question then becomes the the issue of sacrifice. Are they willing to sacrifice their own in support of a president that is not accommodating them? And I think we've seen the answer to that. They are not willing to do that for Gauteng and for Limpopo. A significant portion. At least the leadership is not willing to do so.
Then to Mzwandile Masina withdrawing from the race to support Pule. Did you honestly expect that? Because knowing Mzwandile, he's a strong-willed individual who's never afraid to actually walk alone.
Again, the question is sacrifice. Are you willing to sacrifice or be sacrificed? And we saw with Mzwandile Masina, he's willing to sacrifice himself, and that's when he's come out to say he's withdrawing as a candidate. At the very late stage, I don't know if that is going to have any impact on the results. It might have some impact, but it's a bit late. The horse has bolted for him to withdraw when he's already on the ballot, because that is just going to cause confusion for the delegates or for his own faction that is going to be going to the vote. The same thing can be said to Oscar Mabuyane and Ronald Lamula. The fact that they pull out at the very last minute when it's already too late, they are on the ballot, shows that the quality of decision making and the ability to make quick decisions and long-term strategic decisions is lacking from these leaders, because those are some of the things that you conclude. The absolute last minute at which you can make those conclusions is before your name is added onto the ballot. Once your name is on the ballot, you then create confusion and you cause confusion and sow confusion amongst your own ranks. So we saw with Mzwandile Masina sacrificing himself.
How so, Lukhona? Because in this instance, we were seeing they would have those last-minute caucus where they would address their delegates in this instance. Because some are of the view that you cannot do it a bit earlier because you'll alienate a certain grouping that could have easily voted for you. So this type of approach that the president took to allow everybody to campaign for themselves and see at the very last minute who is likely to emerge and then somehow co-opt them into his slate.
From the president's side, look, even if the president wins here, Mfundo, this is one of the most chaotic campaigns that has ever been run by a presidential candidate. The only thing similar we saw to this was the Halima Motlanthe slate, where they contested each other for the position of deputy president in 2012. We've never seen anything similar to this, where your slate contest each other on each and every position, from DP to SG, to TG and to national chair. It's unheard of. It's not the way to run a campaign, because what you do is that you weaken that slate. And the president should know better, because he was a beneficiary of this in 2012 when Matthew Sposa and Tokyo Sefale contested each other. They divided their own numbers and support. And the president, who was then contesting for deputy president, became a beneficiary of this internal confusion with the Halima Motlanthe slate. So if he allowed this to happen in his own slate, then it shows that he has a lack of appreciation of how you run these campaigns within the ANC. Because in the ANC, you need to be solid. Once you are solid, you create confidence in your own guests and you maximize numbers, because this is a game in numbers. Once you start to divide numbers, you create confusion, you weaken your slate, and you weaken your chances of advancing as a slate as a whole. And sometimes you alienate more people that you think you can win. And that's what happened with Limpopo. It's what happened with Gauteng, because now they're alienated at the very last minute, and there's nothing he can do to bring those people back into the fold.